Last week when I talked to y'all, is this in the frame? What up, nerds? My name is Leslie Smith. Welcome back to the Nerdy Narrative. Let's quickly go over some changes that are taking place immediately. There were changes I was actually going to enact next month in preparation, but things have happened a little sooner than we expected. The short of it is, Chris and I are going to be loading up, going home to Mississippi for an extended stay to be with family. So what does this mean for the channel? This means starting immediately, there will be 2 videos per week, 2 full-length videos, and the schedule will be Tuesdays and Fridays. So things might be a little squirrely between now and mid-July. All that aside, let's talk about some freaking books. Actually, no, let's talk about my friend Amanda from the channel Reading and Writing Life. Amanda is my newest top tier patron for the Nerdy Narrative, so I have to shout her out. She has been a patron for the longest time on my channel. As I sit here and try to think, I can't remember ever having a Patreon that Amanda was not a part of in some shape, form, or fashion. So huge thank you to Amanda for supporting the channel even more. So go by her channel, give her a watch, and comment that I sent it over. Getting into the books, let's start talking about the things that I finished since the last time I updated you all. When I talked to you last week, I was almost done with Edgar and the Flyboys by Louise Gourdet. I'm going to have that written review linked in the description box below. It was wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. I was excited to read the author's note, which if y'all don't read the author's note or acknowledgments at the back of the book, y'all need to read those. You can find all kinds of great information like other stories or materials that the author has written, including some of the characters in the book that you just finished. So I did see 2 mentioned works, I believe it was 2, that featured characters from this novel, and I'm absolutely going to be checking those out. I love the exploration for how souls are either taken to Heaven's Gate or Hell's Doorstep. I thought that was very interesting and how that worked. It was a very interesting type of redemption story, actually. The pacing was perfect. It just clipped right along. You're either interested in character interactions, you're interested to see, are we going to meet this deadline? Are we going to be able to get all this stuff in order? There's danger and consequences looming. I just loved it. It was my first read of my SPFBO pile for Teen Bookborn and just started off with a bang. Highly recommend this book. And then I also picked up my nonfiction essay for this month by Joan Didion. This is found in the hardback collected works, We Tell Ourselves Stories in Order to Live. This month's essay was called The White Album, and it's the longest essay I've read by her so far. And unfortunately, it was one of those of hers that I don't particularly care for. It was very disjointed. It was written in several different parts. Several of the parts had nothing to do with the other parts, and I'm just going, how does this fit together? What is this timeline here? It just made no sense. Joan Didion is one of those authors. She either writes something that I am over the moon on top of the mountain saying, go read this, or I'm going, what? It's just one of those things that did not jive with me personally as a reader. Here's where the monkey wrench got thrown in. My library hold for S.A. Cosby's newest, All the Sinners Bleed, came in. Let me tell y'all how lucky I was. So I put a hold on the audiobook and the Kindle book. The Kindle book came in one day, the audiobook came in the next day, and my goodness, y'all, Adam Lazar-White returned to narrate this one, and I just don't think I'll be able to read a S.A. Cosby book that Adam does not narrate. He's amazing. I can't sit here and tell you that the audiobook is better, but it really does enrich the story and bring these characters to life. But I would say this is an immersion read. It's almost a required immersion read. The reason why I say that is Adam Lazar-White is perfection narrating, but I was in my Kindle highlighting so many quotes, passages. Y'all, I'm gonna show y'all my little journal here. Let me get it out. So here's where it started. Then I got this whole page of notes and quotes. Flip over to the next day. I got this whole page of notes and quotes, and then it finished at the top. So that's what, 1, 2, basically 3 full pages of notes and quotes that struck me so much that I needed to write them down, have that to go back and look at. S.A. Cosby is brilliant in the way that he writes characters and the way that he delivers this mystery. This is about the town of Sharon County, about Sheriff Titus Crown. Even though these people, these families have been here for generations, they all knew each other. Everybody knew Titus Crown. But there was a huge group of people that all they saw was the color of his skin when he put that badge on. Titus went into that eyes wide open. He knew what he was going to be up against, but he was the man for the job. And my gosh, y'all, I can't tell you how many times I was cheering for this character. This is the type of person that needs to not be fictional. They need to exist. These are the type of people who need to be the leaders of our community. These are the type of people that need to be in elected positions, because he just freaking got it. He got it. S.A. Cosby has it. I love that this author can deliver a story that is, one, very entertaining. This was an amazing thriller. It had my heart rate up. I was turning those pages. I read this book so fast. It was voted by my patrons for me to do a vlog for them, and I usually update daily. Unfortunately, they only got 2 updates because I read it in a day. I absolutely love it. I could not put it down. It was outstanding, which is something I have come to expect from S.A. Cosby. The funny thing was, there was like a bit of an interlude chapter that tells you about Sharon County. And the first chapter introduces you to the character of Sheriff Titus Crown. And the first night I picked it up, those are the 2 chapters I read, and I was thinking, this isn't starting off strong. Oh my gosh. While he did not have a killer hook in the beginning, it took off from there. Oh my gosh. And I will tell you, if you're a reader who is adverse to reading about a school shooting, which I will spoil this for you, it seems like it's a school shooting. It's treated as one, but that is not what it actually is. So there's that. But if you are someone like my friend Nakia from the channel Nakia's Hideaway, who does not like to read about things happening to children, steer clear. This is about an event, a school shooting, that actually leads into Titus discovering there is a serial killer in Sharon County, has been for years. They discover multiple bodies, and they're all children. These children have been brutally tortured and murdered. That all is off the page. Cosby does not put the readers through that. He is very tasteful in how he gives you enough information to let you insinuate what has happened without putting the reader through that. Oh my gosh, it was so good. I cannot wait to fit more in by him. I have Blacktop Wasteland and My Darkest Prayer on my shelf to get to, and as soon as I can make time for them, I absolutely will. So that takes care of everything that I have finished. What am I currently working on? I am still plugging away through Lord of Chaos. I have less than 200 pages left in this one. A couple of interesting things happened between last week and this week that I am excited about, that I had forgotten about, and when they got mentioned, it made me remember some interesting things that are going to happen with that particular bit of information. There is one of the major characters that there's something huge that happens. I had forgotten it happened in this book. As soon as it happened, I was immediately jazzed up because, oh my gosh, that is such a great storyline. Now, is that bit of information worth 500 pages to get to make this a good book? No. This is definitely my least favorite book so far in the Wheel of Time series. I did get started on the arc for Darcy Coates' upcoming release, Dead of Winter. Whew, I wish this one was already published, and those of you who are fans of the author could take a look and tell me if this is the normal writing style of this author, because I don't like it. I don't like the writing style. The chapters are really short. The chapter's kind of boring, but at the end of every single chapter there's this huge cliffhanger that makes me turn to the next page. So the author is successful in keeping me reading this book. I'm halfway done with it now. So I keep one more chaptering because they're short and every single one of them has a cliffhanger, but my mind is tired from the boring, oh my gosh, this just happened. Boring, oh my gosh, this just happened. Every single chapter, and I thought, okay, 25% of the way through, you know, surely this is gonna level out and we're just gonna get some good plot development, and no. It's just persisted with that stuff. Oh my gosh, chapter ends. Stuff. Oh my gosh, chapter ends. I am curious enough to continue, but I hope the end of the book is really stellar. Otherwise, I think I'm going to be left disappointed and I will not read more by this author if this is their normal writing style. Even if the book just absolutely blows my mind at the end, I don't think I'll pick up anything else by Darcy Coates unless y'all tell me when y'all pick it up, no, this is just something they tried with this particular novel. So what is it about? Well, it begins with two characters. They're out in this awful snowstorm. One of the characters is panicking to themselves, we're gonna die out here. We are literally 100 miles from any type of other civilization. So the first couple of chapters are these two struggling in the snowstorm, and then we go a few hours back to how they ended up in that situation. And there's a group of people that's headed to this lodge to spend 2 weeks. The storm is coming in, a tree is blown across the road. They have to cut the tree up and move it so that they can get through, and then they become stranded. They do find this little one-room cabin that they're taking shelter in, and it's very cramped. There's no privacy, and bodies start dropping. So it's kind of a locked room mystery, and I can't decide. I've had several theories about who it is doing the killing, but I can't quite pick one over the other saying, oh my gosh, this is what's gonna happen. I honestly don't know, but I'm interested enough to know. I just don't think it's really that great of a book. If every chapter wasn't ending on this big cliffhanger, I probably would have DNF'd it, honestly. So I was immersion reading Lord of Chaos. I had the audiobook from the library, but I had to return it. So I had a space for an audiobook, so I decided to fill that with my reread for Jim Butcher's Blood Rights. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. This one is one of my favorites because one of my absolute favorite characters in Dresden verse makes their entrance into the series here, and oh, I don't want to give it away because there are a lot of people that are watching the channel that are reading the series for the first time and they're not to this one yet, and I don't want to spoil it. But for those of you who have read the series, what's a good hint that I could tell you who I'm talking about? I will say it has something to do with a Chinese temple. They guard the Chinese temple, so that should tell you who it is. There was a lot of stuff that happened in this one. The biggest reveal I read in the series happened in this book, at the end of this book. The first time I read the series, this was the book I was on when I was visiting my friend Steven up in Maryland. It was actually the end of the trip. He was driving Chris and I to the airport, and he knew how close I was to that reveal, and he wanted to be around me when I got to it. So we're in the car, and he's like, just read, just everybody be quiet and let her read. And when I got to that, oh my gosh, whoo! It was big. Suffice it to say, I'm really enjoying this reread. It's so funny because as many times as I've read this book, I'm still over here writing down notes and quotes, just the things that I missed the first few times that I read the book. It's so crazy how that happens. That is why I love rereading so much. Even though I have read this book 3 or 4 times, there were things that I missed. And then on the flip side of that, because I know where the series has ended so far, I am noticing things that point to things that happen later in the series, which has been so much fun as well. So I bet I will finish this one in the next day or so, which brings us to what will I be reading next. Once I finished Dead of Winter, I'm gonna go ahead and read the ARC I Am AI by Ai Jiang. I have it on my Kindle as an ARC. I've already pre-ordered my copy for the end of the month. I want to go ahead and get that read so I can get my review out so that it will be on your radar to pick up if it's one that sounds good to you. I recently read and reviewed her horror novella Ling Yun, and it blew my mind good. It is one of the most unique haunted house stories I've ever read. It's such a great character study on how people deal with grief. It was so good that even though she provided me with a copy of the ARC to read and review, I purchased a physical copy. I pre-ordered a physical copy of I Am AI, and then she later hit me up and was like, hey, can I send you a copy of this to read and review? And I was like, sure, that way I can read it sooner, but I do have a copy on pre-order as well. So I've seen what she's done with horror. Now I'm excited to see what she's gonna do with sci-fi. Once I read that one, I'm gonna go ahead and get started on my second SPFBO read, which is Deathbringer by Blake Carpenter. I believe both I Am AI and Deathbringer are relatively short, or at least in my world they're short. So I should be able to get through both of those rather quickly. The next book I'm going to be picking up is The Prox Transmissions by the Starset Society, the band, if you've all heard of them. This one is my patron pick for the month of June. My patron who picked it is Amanda, who also kindly gifted me this autographed version of it. We're going to be buddy reading this one together and talking it over, and I cannot wait. It looks to be a mixed media format, and I am extremely excited to check it out. So that is going to do it for me this week. I know I probably overloaded y'all with a bunch of information and then books and all of that fun stuff, but you know, sometimes that's just how it goes. You all have a fantastic rest of your Friday, a wonderful weekend, and I'll catch you in the next one.